Happy holidays from Bloodbath and beyond. Today we review Elves. He's back, and he brought some friends.
Directed by Jamaal Burden, starring Stephanie Marie Baggett, Deanna Grace Congo, and Amy Jo Guthrie. This is usually the time where I try and recite the plot of a film, from IMDb generally. And I'd like to read it word for word. The plot is unknown at this time. I feel you, bruv. This is a sequel to our most hated Christmas film, The Elf. It's as if everybody involved, it was their first time doing anything related to film. This is an absolute ripoff of Blumhouse's Truth or Dare that came out in 2018. It's the exact same concept. There's a list with people's names on it. They have to do the things they're told, and these creepy people with wild faces and big smiles will tell them to do something and convince them, and if they don't do it, they die in a horrific way. Horrific. Much like the predecessor, unfortunately, we didn't have a lot to like about this movie. So we're going to move directly to our dislikes.
I want to start off with the acting. I wish I could just say that it wasn't that bad, but it really was bad. I couldn't believe any of the characters. I couldn't understand a lot of the characters, which is more of a technical
that's more like an audio issue, but even when the audio levels were at a reasonable volume, you still couldn't comprehend what they were trying to fucking talk about.
Everybody's just going to ignore the fact that I had a rock in my drink.
They weren't believable by any means, and their reactions to the elves, the reactions to how they were getting killed, it just was brutal.
So you thought it'd be funny to leave this with me at work? I bet it was Dan.
You better watch yourself, Rainbow.
And the stupid little filter was probably the best emotion you get out of these characters.
At least they're smiling in some scenes. That definitely seems harsh on the acting because it's a few other factors that work into this. The writing for the dialogue is just awful.
Am I dead?
Not yet.
I was tripping balls. There was elves and cookies.
And the editing enhanced this inability to deliver terrible dialogue by letting scenes breathe for too long and not cutting away at certain moments or cutting to reaction shots when there's people talking, and it's just cringeworthy. And a lot of this movie is super cringy, including them trying to be self-aware halfway through saying,
"This sounds like that movie Truth or Dare, except with Snapchat filters."
No. Truth or Dare is just like that movie. It follows.
Hold on, first of all, It Follows is nothing like this. Don't ever compare yourself to It Follows, you sons of bitches. And Truth or Dare is nothing like It Follows in general, in any sense of the imagination. I can't see how they can compare themselves to these films other than Truth or Dare. And I loved Truth or Dare in comparison to this. This is one of those few movies that I almost walked out of, but I couldn't because we had to review it.
They're trying to be clever. They're trying to create a twist, which they don't establish other than watching on a poorly composited laptop in a library. It's just an elf, another elf, and a person killing people with zero motives.
It is worth noting because a lot of people are gonna see the cover of this and see a bunch of dangerous elves with knives on the cover, and it looks fucking awesome. Just like the cover from the last one that had a great cover. Boringest fucking movie I've ever seen. Uncorked, I don't know what you're doing. You're quickly turning into midnight releasing. Straight up. They were good when they started, then they picked up whatever they fucking possibly could and released it just by making some cool new promotional trailers and some promo art and saying, hey, this is a quality release. You know, we had trust in you for a long time, and it's slowly diminishing as more and more shittier releases come from this camp.
Guys, y'all can't be this stupid.
One of the big things which was wrong with the first one that they didn't even come close to improving in the second one was the cinematography.
Fuck God, yes.
I couldn't tell you how many times there are two characters having a conversation, or one character is just talking and the camera person just drops the camera down to their waist and then back up to their head. What do we need crotch shots for?
And even when you're like, oh, finally, they finally found a tripod. Because half the movie is just shaky cam because of It's just wobbling all over the place. It's gonna make some people nauseous. If you notice it, you won't stop noticing it. It's fucking irritating. But the reframing of shots, something we mentioned in the first movie, is back again. They'll be in a situation and somebody might enter the room and they'll like move the camera a little bit to like get them in frame. Or somebody's sitting on a couch just talking and maybe they've ducked down and they're kind of like using their hands more. They'll just straight up like move the camera to fit them in. They'll slightly just nudge the camera around. Stop doing that. Don't move the camera, or at least don't show the camera moving like that in a frame. That's what editing's for. If you need to get a closer shot or you need to reframe, shoot a wide shot, then get that person to do the exact same thing in a close-up, and then you can cut between the two different shots or even two different angles. And here we go. Then you have a nice looking shot. Unfortunately, there isn't a nice looking shot in this fucking movie.
Oh no, he didn't.
Not only is the cinematography bad, but the visual effects are terrible. The skewer in the neck.
How hard is it to fake a skewer going into somebody? Shoot it from a different angle. Shoot it from over there. We've seen it done 1,000 times. Stop fixing it everything in goddamn post.
Because you're not fixing, you're just creating more problems. And even...
You're right, and then it compacts on top of itself. So even when the camera gets jittery, sometimes they'll put a warp stabilizer on it. Then they want to warp the faces on the faces, and then this tracking's all jacked up. Now you've had VFX on top of camera correction, and it just looks terrible. Okay, sorry, continue.
And then they also can't even do like real non-CG kills correctly. Like one girl just like bumps her back into the fridge and it's just blood everywhere. And you know that they did multiple takes of this because you can see where the girl is on the floor crawling to her mark. There's blood already there and she hasn't even got to that spot yet. Take a paper towel, get a little water, wipe up the white floor, and then do it again.
Get some Lysol wipes. It takes 2 seconds. It's like cleaning up meatballs on my floor sometimes when I drop my spaghetti. And I can tell you for a fact, I've fallen into my fridge trying to reach for the crown a number of occasions. My head's good still.
Pause.
The opening story between the two children has to be one of the worst segments I've ever seen in my life in horror. These kids, no offense, they can't act.
Go burn this reef, I'll burn you.
The story was dumb. Who the hell goes into an oven? Hansel and Gretel didn't even go into the goddamn oven and they were facing a witch. And even if you get in the oven, you could get out.
Push it open.
Push it open.
And he didn't preheat that motherfucker. No. Set it to 425, wait 20 minutes. 20 minutes, you can get yourself out of an oven.
Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Help!
Another huge issue that I had, and this one is like their lighting. Their lighting was terrible. It's like they only had one big spotlight and they just used that. In all situations, you immediately notice it at the beginning with the kid's story. Every instance in this movie, they only use one light. There's like a guy trying to hide from a serial killer and he goes to the only place where there's a big fucking spotlight shining down on him. And every other situation is just like that. It's like every scene. I have 1,000 things to say. Just stop holding your camera. Just put it on a tripod for a second. Just 1 second, please. Oh, that girl's super short? Shoot her at a different angle so she doesn't look so short. Quit giving her 2 feet of headroom because half the movie I thought she was a fucking midget.
We haven't even touched on the elves and
Right.
And like that's what the premise of this movie is. The focus is supposed to be these elves. We get a quick glimpse of the elf and one of the characters, Sky, from the first movie. And then we get our new elf who really doesn't do anything. At least in the first one, I hated the fact that it would go between like a puppet elf and a CG elf. But at least in that one, they utilize the elf. In this one, they tried to do the stupid face filter. They didn't use the elf at all.
They don't even move. The elves do not move. They are completely inanimate, and there's nothing to suggest that they are actually killing. They are just sitting there. They do not move. And Uncorked, if you're listening to our review, leave the third one for Wild Eye. Jesus. I could genuinely go on for hours, but I feel like we shouldn't. So we're moving on to our final thoughts and ratings. I went in with really low expectations because I absolutely hated the first one. I'm like, well, anything is better than the first one. I've been proven wrong. This movie might be worse than the first one. It's definitely up there, mainly because it's straight up just jacked Truth or Dare. Like, if Blumhouse should be looking at this and being like, what the fuck are you doing? It's not a parody of Truth or Dare. It's straight up just a knockoff, but done like 50 times worse.
That is true. That is true.
Nobody was very competent in this movie, from the cinematography being shaky and awkwardly reframing every scene, to the audio, again, rocking on your remote, up and down. You're not gonna be able to hear it because they don't understand how to do audio. I'm almost 100, there's just a mic on top of the camera. So if you're getting the back of somebody, you're hearing it like you're behind them, which means you can't fucking hear them talk.
And this year, the kids decided to go with my ex-husband and his new wife.
Oh my god, I'm just gonna go on a fucking rant about how terrible this is. It's just a really bad movie, so I'm gonna give this 0.5 discoveries of an ancient occult scripture out of 5.
It's an ancient occult language.
This will come to no surprise that this movie is terrible. We had no expectations coming into this. We thought maybe, just maybe, they could improve slightly from the first one, yet they didn't. It still looked terrible. It still sounded terrible. The acting wasn't good. The story, batted all over the place. The focus of the elves wasn't even there. The elves did nothing. There's not really much of a redeeming quality to say about this film. And I feel terrible having to say this, especially on the holidays, because you're supposed to be nice, but like...
Be cheery, John.
Be cheery, but we're gonna be on the naughty list. That's what this film has done to us. It's made us very cynical. Do not watch this movie. There's nothing that you would enjoy about this. There's nothing you can riff about it. There's nothing you can actually have fun with. It's very boring, and there's plenty of other films to go watch. Plenty of other holiday films to go watch. There's just so much more you could do with your life. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 0.5 shots out of 5.
Everyone grab a shot. Shots, come on, everyone, grab a shot.
Let's take a shot.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.